Hey everyone, it's Tony from the Handlebar Workshops. Today, in my downstairs basement, I'm doing a rental project. I'm not going to take you through the entire project, I just want to show you some bits and pieces here and there. As you can see, we've already started putting up some trim here. There's going to be some doors here. That'll be a video eventually. But right now we're worried about the wainscoting, the board and batten wainscoting that's going to go from about here down. I've already got this part painted. Yep, it's purple. It's supposed to be purple. So let's get to that. So I've marked my studs here with the tape. This is just a painted hardy board or backer board or whatever you want to call it. It's real smooth on this side. You can kind of see it's got a sheen. And this side's real rough. So I painted the smooth side. And I got this. And I cut it to go between this piece of trim and the corner over here. Got a bit of a hump in my floor here. So I put a spacer in here to kind of get it off the tile. And then I'll use a level across the top to make sure I'm nice and level here. Now I'm not too worried about any nail holes along here because I'm going to put a board across the top here and there's going to be some going down here. When I put the boards up here, the nail is going to go through that board, through this board, and into the drywall and possibly a stud. So I'm not too worried about getting a bunch of nails in here right now. Basically just need to hold it in place until I'm ready. So here we are in the corner with the door here, and this is the furnace side of the bathroom. Now I'm going to be starting adding the boards here. I want them to be flush with the tops here. So I'm going to start in the corner here and go this way. Since the 60-year-old house is not square, and I want it flush with the top here, I'm going to use an angle finder here, and I am going to get the angle right here for this corner. This is going to be in the corner here. Here's the top, here's the bottom. Bottom is painted, top is not. So since we laid this side along the top of that sheet that was there, I'm going to do the same here and see where it comes out. And that's darn near square. So I don't have to do any cutting here. So now to orientate you, the furnace is over on this side right here. And this is the corner we just measured. This is the furnace top. We're going to stick this right up here in that corner and get this all as level as possible. Now, I left it a little long here, and I forgot my pencil. I purposely left this a little long so I can come in here and make some marks. For the board that's on top on the furnace side, I've marked the top and bottom of where it crosses that piece of wood. I'm going to line up this board right on my lines. I'm just going to make my cut right there. So this is the top one here, paint side down. Okay. Now this is a 3/4 inch thick piece of wood here. This is like a 3/16 and a 1/2 inch. So this is slightly back a bit, but that's okay because I like the dimensionality of it all. But otherwise we've got a pretty good fit here. And I want it flush with the top of this because there's a piece that's going to go on top as a cap. You can see I'm following my studs here. So I'm shooting 2-inch long 18 gauge nails. And I'm just now realizing my nail gun matches my walls. Now I have the furnace bottom here. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Push it up into that far corner over here and mark the end over here. Unlike the top one, I can't mark the top and the bottom. I can only mark the top here. So I'm going to use my angle finder again. So I've got the handle flush on top of this board here and it's marking my angle there. All right, so I brought the mark over to this side of the board. Remember, we put this right on top of that painted side here. I'm not sure if this shows up on camera or not, but that line is not square. It's narrower up here than it is down here. Trying to cut this on a table saw or even a chop saw would be difficult because you'd have to line that up. And I have no idea what angle that is. But having this here, I just line it right up with the line and clamp it down. I've got a 2x4 running all the way around here. And I got studs coming off of that. So I'm tying into that bottom 2x4. But I still know that I've got a stud here from up here. Try and bring the top in as close to this wall as possible. So there's a big old gap here. So that was probably more square than I had thought it was. I'm guessing that the gauge moved on me, that angle gauge moved on me. Fill in with caulk, you'll never see it. Now I got to do all the uprights between the top and the bottom bars here. I cut these all a little long so that I could custom fit them in between. So what I'm doing is I put it flat on the bottom down there and up against the wall here. So I take this combination square and I push against this way to push it up against there, and I slide it up until the blade hits the bottom of this bar here. Then I can give myself a little line here. And then I can come in with my angle finder, get it pushed up against here and there, tighten this down. So I want to bring this line around to this side so I can see it. So I put my pencil right on the line here, and bring my square right up to it, and it comes right around over here. I can make the mark there, and then using my angle finder, referencing the same side, I can mark my line across. Now I just cut on that line like I did before with the circular saw and the guide. Alright, so I got the two ends installed here. This is by the furnace and this is by the door over here. I was planning on possibly doing like 2 intersections there, but that just looks too small. I think I like the single one better. So yeah, I'm just going to do that. So this is essentially the same thing, except now we get to mark on both sides. First of all, we want to make sure that the bottom of this upright is on top, making complete contact with the bottom rail. Then we put the square up against here and push it against there, and then slide it up. And then we mark that corner there. And we do the same thing over here. Push and slide and mark. So I'm going to put my pencil on this line here, slide the square up to it, and come around on this side and make my mark over here. Same thing here. Slide it up to my pencil, come around, make the mark here. Now I've got the 2 marks and I just need to put my guide across there and make my cut. Now I've got a stud here and a stud here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the nails in kind of on an angle to kind of toenail them in so it doesn't pull out. Over here by the door, we've only got the 1 panel here. Ideally, I would just use a 1/2 inch piece of MDF to go down here, just make this a solid panel. However, I don't have any more of this, and I don't want to go buy any more because it's rather expensive right now. So instead, I'm going to be using 3 plies of the thinner of this same board back here. And this 3 come out to be just about the same size as this. So I figure behind the door, that's fine. Now you might argue, why am I doing that? Well, because I'm going to put a rail on top of here, and I need that extra mass to nail into. So when I was hanging the door, the walls, this side of the door is kind of that way, and this side of the door is kind of back that way. So I got this big gap right here along the trim, but down here, it's right up against the wall. So I have to fill this gap in. And I've made this piece and painted it already. It should just fit right in here. And I will be running a bead of caulk up around here too, so any gaps that are there will be covered. But at the top here, that's just too big of a gap for caulk to fill in. So it goes all the way down to here right now. I'm going to nail this in, starting at the bottom and working my way up, making sure I keep everything nice and flush. Now there's a little bit up here that I just need to cut off with a knife. Now I want to install this top cap here. Basically it's just a piece of poplar. I used actual wood this time rather than MDF, mainly because I'm afraid people are going to start using this as a way to hold themselves up, either to get off the toilet or to do other things in the bathroom here. So I wanted this to be a bit more sturdy than MDF. And as such, I just want to do more than just nail it in here. So I'm going to lay a bead of glue and then put the nails in. The nails will mainly just be there to hold it while the glue dries. There's still a little bit of a gap here, but we'll fill that in with some caulk. We'll do the same thing along the sink. Again, we've got a bow here, so I'm going to have to push this in here, and that comes out like that, so I have to push it back in. And there's just going to be a lot of wrestling around with this one. You can see I made a little detail on the end of these to kind of overlap the corner down here. Got a nice little return right down here. So now I've got to caulk up these seams around here, mainly to hide the line so it looks better, but also to keep water from getting behind any of those boards. Just using some basic bathroom caulk, white, to kind of match the white paint we got here. Some of these areas around the toilet, I can't get a caulk gun in there very easily. So I also got something similar in a little squeeze tube that I can get in a little easier. So this is just a spray bottle with dish soap and water. I'm going to use this to spray on my fingers so I can run my finger down and get a nice smooth seam. The soap will help prevent the caulk from sticking to my fingers for the most part, but still, it's going to happen. So I also have a nice supply of toilet paper squares here, and they're one-time use. You wipe your finger on it and throw it away. I've used paper towels in the past, but I find if you try to keep reusing it, eventually you're going to jam your finger into a big gloop of caulk at one point or another. So I like just use them once and then go to the next one. And I have a nice supply of them here. One of the things I do is I cut this at a 45-degree angle and try to get it so that this fits right in the corner. The very tip fits right in the corner. I keep this as small as possible. My gaps aren't really that big here, so I don't have to do a lot of filling here. But I want to keep that hole just big enough, fit this in there, so I can pop that foil down there. Any bigger, you're just going to make a big mess. You want to run one bead of caulk and then run your finger over that, because if you try to do everything first and then run your finger over, it'll dry enough to the point where you won't be able to squeeze it into the joints. So here, trying to get everything flush, I had to sand through the paint and everything, and I exposed the MDF. I want to get some primer on that to cover that up so when I put the final coat of paint on, it doesn't absorb weirdly and look odd. So it looks like it's a little bit more difficult with a darker color and a light color sealant here. There's just mess all over the place, and I can't really clean it off the purple. It just kind of makes it worse. So I'm going to have to go back and paint over that once it's dry. So I made a toilet paper holder to be mounted in here into the wall so that the toilet paper roll is out of the way when you're sitting here. It's very simple construction. Just 4 sides with a back, then I added a flange around the edge. So I made a little template here, and the space that I'll be cutting out here is a little bit wider than the space that I would need to fit this in, so it's not such a tight fit. And I have a little wiggle room should I need it. I marked out my drill points, so I touched the lines here with a 1/2 inch drill, so just a 1/4 inch in on each corner. Now I could use a reciprocating saw and just cut through here. I've also got an oscillating tool that I'll use to cut. I didn't really need the corners with the oscillating tool, but just so you know how to do it if you don't have an oscillating tool. So now you can see that it's all done. So all in all, it wasn't really all that much work. It was just a lot of time trying to get all the seams to look very smooth. So if you enjoyed this video, think about giving me a thumbs up and hitting the subscribe down below so you can see more videos like this and a bunch of other things that we have coming up for you in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.